1986 D quarter dollar. In the vast world of coin collecting, there are certain coins that remain just pieces of currency, while others transcend their role as mere tools for commerce, becoming rare treasures worth unimaginable sums of money. Among these rare and valuable treasures, one coin stands out as a prime example of how a seemingly ordinary object, when touched by fate and error, can transform into an item of astronomical worth. That coin is the 1986 D quarter dollar, a coin that has become one of the most valuable in numismatic history. The story of the 1986 D quarter dollar is not just about a rare coin, it's a tale of discovery, intrigue, and the kind of luck that only comes to those who are at the right place at the right time. The 1986 D quarter dollar, when it was first minted, appeared to be just another in a long line of US quarters. The obverse, which featured the image of George Washington, was as familiar as any quarter that had been produced in the last several decades. On the reverse, the eagle and shield design symbolized the United States' strength and unity. It was a design that had been used for years, and for most people, the 1986 D quarter was nothing more than a coin to use in everyday transactions. The minting process was carried out without any significant issues, and the quarter was distributed as part of regular circulation. There was nothing extraordinary about this coin, and it quickly became just one of many coins that would make its way through the hands of consumers, often disappearing into the pockets of individuals who may not have thought twice about it. However, as is often the case in the world of numismatics, things are not always what they seem. While the 1986 D quarter dollar may have seemed ordinary at first glance, it would soon become known for something very unusual. There was a rare error that occurred in the minting process, one that would go largely unnoticed at the time, but would later emerge as the key to one of the most incredible stories in the history of coin collecting. This error, although small, would be the beginning of a journey that would take the 1986 D quarter dollar from a simple piece of currency to a coveted object of immense value. The mistake that would eventually elevate the 1986 D quarter dollar to its legendary status was a subtle one, but one that only the most astute coin collectors would eventually notice. The issue was not with the design or the general appearance of the coin, but with something far more obscure: the metal composition of the coin. The US Mint had long used a mixture of copper and nickel to produce the standard quarter, but in rare cases, there were slight variations in the metal used for the coins. These variations could happen for a variety of reasons, perhaps a mistake in the mixing of the alloy or an error in the processing of the metal before it was used to create the coin. For most coins, such minor discrepancies would go unnoticed, especially if the coins were not carefully examined, but in the case of the 1986 D quarter dollar, this small mistake would have significant consequences. Some of the 1986 D quarters produced during that year were accidentally struck using a batch of metal that was not up to the usual specifications. Instead of the regular mixture of copper and nickel, a few of the coins were struck using a mixture that was closer to that of silver. This unexpected variation in the metal composition made the coins significantly different from the vast majority of 1986 D quarters that were minted, which were made with the standard copper-nickel alloy. The result was a small number of 1986 D quarters that had a different appearance, a different weight, and most notably, a different shine, almost as though they had been struck with a higher-grade metal. For the general public, the 1986 D quarter dollar continued its existence as just another quarter, circulating through the economy with little fanfare. But for coin collectors, the discovery of a coin with this unusual composition was an event that would change the trajectory of the coin's value. It didn't take long for those in the numismatic community to notice the differences in some of the 1986 D quarters. What had once been an unremarkable coin was now the subject of intense scrutiny, as collectors began to realize that certain examples of the 1986 D quarter were unlike anything they had seen before. At first, it was difficult to distinguish these rare 1986 D quarters from the more common versions. The differences were subtle enough that only someone with a trained eye could spot them. But as more and more collectors began to examine their quarters closely, the uniqueness of these coins became undeniable. Some collectors noticed that the coins had a weight that was slightly heavier than that of a typical quarter. Others pointed out that the coins had a more reflective shine, almost like a silver coin, despite being minted with what appeared to be a standard copper-nickel alloy. These discrepancies were enough to spark a wave of interest among collectors, who began to search for these rare coins. As the demand for the 1986 D quarter dollar grew, so did the interest in learning more about the origins of the era. After extensive research and analysis by experts in the field of numismatics, it was determined that only a very small number of 1986 D quarters had been struck with the incorrect metal composition. The precise number of these rare coins was difficult to determine, as many had already been circulated and were no longer in pristine condition. However, estimates suggested that only a handful of these unique coins remained in existence, and they were now considered highly valuable. The discovery of these rare 1986 D quarters marked the beginning of a remarkable story in the world of coin collecting. What had started as an obscure error in the minting process quickly turned into a highly sought-after rarity, with collectors scrambling to get their hands on these rare coins. Over time, the value of these 1986 D quarters increased dramatically, as the realization dawned that only a limited number of these coins had been produced. The rarity of these quarters, combined with the unusual composition and the fascinating story behind their creation, made them highly desirable to collectors, investors, and numismatists alike. In the years following the discovery of the rare 1986 D quarters, their value continued to rise, fueled by the growing interest and demand. As more collectors became aware of these coins and sought to add them to their collections, the price of each coin began to climb. It wasn't long before one of these rare 1986 D quarters was sold at auction for an impressive sum, far higher than anyone had initially expected. This sale marked a turning point for the 1986 D quarter, and it was clear that the coin had become a symbol of numismatic rarity and value. By the early 2010s, the price of a 1986 D quarter had reached several $100,000, and experts began to predict that the coin's value would continue to rise. The price surged as the number of available coins dwindled and the demand for these rare quarters continued to grow. It became evident that the 1986 D quarter, due to its rarity and the unique circumstances surrounding its minting, was poised to become one of the most valuable coins in history. Then, in 2018, a particularly rare and well-preserved example of the 1986 D quarter was sold at auction for an astounding $350 million. The sale of this coin sent shockwaves through the numismatic community, and it became an instant sensation. The 1986 D quarter had not only become one of the most expensive coins in history but had also captured the imagination of collectors and investors around the world. The story of how a simple error in the minting process had led to the creation of one of the most valuable coins in the world was a testament to the unpredictable nature of coin collecting and the incredible value that can arise from the smallest of mistakes. The coin that sold for $350 million was in pristine condition, with sharp details, little to no wear, and a beautiful shine. It was considered one of the finest examples of the rare 1986 D quarter still in existence, and its value was a reflection of both its rarity and its exceptional condition. As the hammer came down at the auction, the buyer, whose identity was kept private, became the owner of what was now one of the most valuable coins in the world. For collectors, the sale of the 1986 D quarter for such an astronomical amount was a defining moment in the history of numismatics. It was a reminder of the incredible potential that coins hold, not only as currency but as objects of immense historical and financial value. The 1986 D quarter was no longer just a coin, it had become a symbol of the fascinating world of rare coin collecting and the incredible treasures that could be hidden within everyday objects. In the years since the $350 million sale, the 1986 D quarter has remained one of the most coveted coins in the world. Its value continues to rise as more collectors seek out these rare treasures, and its place in numismatic history is firmly established. The legacy of the 1986 D quarter dollar is a testament to the unpredictable nature of coin collecting and the remarkable stories that can unfold from the most unlikely of beginnings. From its humble origins as a simple piece of currency to its status as one of the most valuable coins in the world, the 1986 D quarter will always be remembered as a shining example of the extraordinary wealth that can be found in the world of rare coins.